Hello there, my beautiful friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Glow Up Method. This is the place where we heal, where we grow, where we glow, where we take all those uncomfortable situations in life, we learn from them, and then we practice them, and then we help share it with others so that our experiences are not lost in vain and we can help others through our situations. Hi, my name is Natasha and I am so excited to be here. Hello there. Countdown is on, so like literally I will only be here tomorrow. I'm still not packed yet, but I have got a lot of my other work done, so bravo to me. And I've kind of have a game plan of what I'm taking and things. However, I just found out there's rain, and I was not in like rain season. I was like thinking I was chilling out in the, sun a little bit. I don't want it too hot, but I just wanted some sun, some just relaxation, some spiritual healing. So, today's topic is about something that was prompted by something that happened to me today. So I decided to go to a nail salon because I'm leaving on vacation. And I had kicked two things because I've been doing way too much as per usual. And two of my toenail polishes completely, the gel nail polish, thankfully not the nail, just the nail polish, popped off. So I was walking around with 3 toes on one foot painted and 5 on the other and just looking ratchet. But I was pushing it because my trip starts on Saturday. Cruise starts on Tuesday. And so I'm, had this whole objective to get so many different things done and yada, yada, yada. And I went to the gym. I just did my one class and then I did like 15 minutes after the other. And on the way home, I was like, I'm going to get my nails done. And I stopped at this place I was going to go to that I've never been, but I've driven past hundreds of times. Looked at the Yelp reviews. They were pretty poor. So I was like, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to go to this place that I know is a sure thing. Last time I went there before my cruise, I had the cutest glitter on my nails. I was so happy with the way they looked. And I went there and I got 2 ladies. They were so sweet. They weren't really talking to me, but, they were doing their thing. They were, taking care of my toes and fingers. And the next thing you know, like, they're putting on the color. And I was like, no, not that color. I was pretty clear. Like, I want this color with glitter, but the small glitter with the iridescent. And I know. I'm picky in the sense, right? And so it started to go on and I was like, no, this is not it. This is not it. This is not the color. And they just kept going and they were putting it. And I tried to communicate like, no, not this one. And I was trying to be like as kind and everything. And then at one point I was like, listen, I like 3 people in here are looking at me now, because I'm objecting. And I was like, no, not that glitter. I'm trying to explain as best as I can, like not silver glitter, like an iridescent glitter. And I know it shouldn't matter, right? But it matters to me. And so I'm having this whole moment internally where it's like, stop being a Karen. Like, you are being too picky. Like, just go with whatever color they picked you. But I was like, listen, I'm having this full conversation with myself sitting there. I'm like, I am paying good money to have this done. I am the one who's going to have to leave here and look at my fingers and toenails in abundance for the next few days. Why should I settle for what I don't want? And I would clearly articulated it. It wasn't like I didn't say it and this is what I got. And so I had these high expectations. Like, I specifically went there, and the last place I went to was great too. But it was further away. And I was just like, I'm just going to get this busted out quick. I ended up being in there for 2 hours. I ultimately left with a color I was not the color I was going in there for at all. She completely misunderstood me like 3 or 4 times to the point that I finally was just like, I'm okay with this color. I never did get what I want, but I did get the clarity I need. I will not be going back there again because I can't communicate it for whatever reason. They did it beautifully. Like, I've gone there multiple times before and it's came out gorgeous. So I don't know, maybe I won't go back, but like, I'm just so like, I was so like just frustrated. And no, I stayed pretty calm. I just was like, I don't know what to say. Like, I feel like as women, as moms, as caretakers, like, we are taught to just make things easy, and we don't want to complicate things, and we don't want to put anybody out. We don't want to be a burden, and I don't want to frustrate them or hurt them or take their time and things like that. But isn't there a point where like we matter too? Like, why should I accept something less than that I wanted and I was paying for, and I articulated I wanted, and they just were in a rush to get it started, that I would like, instead of just showing me the few seconds like, oh, okay, this one, because they looked so different in the book than on the thing. So anyways, like, it just was a lesson, and I was really having a hard time because I wanted to stay small. I wanted to stay quiet. I wanted to just go with the flow and be like, okay, I can just pay later to get this change. And I'm like, no, why am I going to pay again? I even am getting the gel, which I never get the gel, but because I have so much to do, I don't want to be like, oh, I can't put on my shoes, or I can't, do these things. I never get the gel, but I was like, I'm going to get the gel today so that I can pack and do the things, do my laundry, do my hair washing I gotta do. I'm waiting for tomorrow to get a nice good scrub, put in a hair mask, all those things. So, that is the reminder today, is your voice matters. Your opinions matter. Your desires matter. I mean, it's not bad. It just wasn't what I wanted. And so it is definitely closer to like being acceptable. And from a distance, it looks fine. Like from close, but it is what it is. I personally at that point decided that, like, listen, I'm okay with this color. I cannot have this song and dance another time. Like, I have things to do that are gonna be on sitting in this place that I was actually freezing in. So yeah, it was definitely a lesson. And if anything, then that is what I took from the whole situation. Like, I definitely learned something. It was a reminder, because I had this internal dialogue about not wanting to speak up, about, feeling embarrassed that, like, I was like, no, not that glitter. Like, it was like, I was saying the really, like, kind of fine glitter. I didn't want the big chunky circles on there. It was a difficult challenge. So I say this to say, it may be for you, not in a nail salon, but maybe it's something that's happening with a friend, and, they're pushing their thoughts and what they believe it is, and they're not listening to you, and you're feeling frustrated. And sometimes you shut down and you get quiet and you don't speak up for yourself. And that was my conversation myself. I'm like, if I can't speak up for myself in a nail salon, how can I speak up to myself when it's my family, my friends, like something that's like really important beyond nail color, right? So it was a good practice, although, like I say, there's never any lessons without pain. I swear, like, it was painful. It took me an hour longer than I had anticipated. And it was embarrassing, right? Like, I felt embarrassed that I didn't like, like, I was ungrateful for the color that she was putting on there. And I was like, I did not pick this color. And so it was a great lesson. And I really hope that you have those opportunities too, not to get the wrong color, but what were you doing in that situation? I mean, so many of us, how many of us have gotten an order too, like, and we're like in fear of speaking up for ourselves. Like, so many people, right? Like, we don't want to send anything back. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm going to accept whatever you gave me, even though I'm paying for a certain thing. I ordered a certain thing and now it came wrong and I'm just supposed to take it. Like, it's kind of frustrating. Like, and I know that, like, for me personally, this is a thing. Like, I remember even with Chris, like, Chris and I, we speak different languages sometimes. It is all English, but it is different language. I am a really wordy person, as you can tell. And he's like, just get to the point. And so I don't know if I get lost in all those words and I lose him. I don't know what's happening sometimes. But, like, I had this mirror and I had this complete vision of where the mirror would go. And it was way too heavy for me to hang. Like seriously, this thing is heavy. And he decided to hang it for me one day. And I had said, oh, I want it here. And I want it this, horizontal, not vertical. Weeks went by or whatever. The mirror was never hung. And then someday I came home and, he has his own way of doing to-do lists, and he had done it. And not only did he do it, he measured it out. There's pencil marks. He got anchors. He really went to town. But this thing, it's hung vertical. And this thing is way too damn high. Like, if you go to look in this mirror, it's like this up. And the mirror, up. Like, it's going to the ceiling. It's a very large mirror. And I remember being like, I'm grateful he helped, but this was all wrong. And I remember him being like, well, why aren't you just grateful for it? Like, I did what you asked. I hung the mirror. And I was like, yes, but I was very specific in that I had this vision for it vertically, and I had this vision for it, but horizontally, not vertically. And he was like, well, you can't hang it that way. And I was like, well, that should have been something that was like communicated to me and discussed and said, okay, we can't hang it this way. It's too hanging. There's nothing, I can't use a wire, blah, 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 because it's so heavy, whatever it was. Then I would know and be like, oh, okay, well then can we just bring it down a foot, And so he was doing his best. He had by no means intent to do something different than what I wanted. On the contrary, this is Chris. Honestly, he probably just wanted to get me happy. Same thing with the nail salon techs. Listen, they live on tips. They want me to walk out of there happy, so I'm sending them a big old tip on Zelle or Venmo. So here we are. And, with Chris, that was a major argument. With Chris, that was like something that's come up in therapy multiple times. With Chris, that was something that still has come up in other conversations. And, and just now when we did the painting, and I was like, I tried to explain, and he was like, you see why I couldn't hang it lower. And I was like, no, I do. But or why I couldn't hang it the way you wanted originally. I was like, well, then can we at least bring it down a foot, and then I'm like, honestly, just forget it. Sometimes I just want to be like, honestly, is this battle worth it? And I don't want to fight, and I want the peace, and I just want to be easy. And that easiness is at the inconvenience of me. And it's like, at that point, I wouldn't have put it there. At that point, I would have done something else. This TV, okay? It's a different TV than what was here before. This is the TV Chris bought when he moved out. It's a newer TV. Our TV was old. It was an anniversary present to each other. Key present, huh? We went to Costco on our anniversary, and we were like, hey, we need a new TV, which was actually pretty cool, because before that TV, we had one of those ones with the thick backs on it. Listen, that took up half this bedroom. And it was so great to have it mounted up here. So now this one came, but this one's a little bit bigger. And so it's low. And I originally was like, I think it needs to go up like a few inches. And honestly, at that point, I was like, I was really adamant about it for a bit. And then I was like, I really don't even watch TV in here. I really don't care that much. I had came to the reason. It wasn't because I really didn't care. It was just it was a lot of work for a few inches. And I was like, honestly, if it doesn't bother him, it doesn't bother me that much. I haven't even turned on this TV since it's been mounted on here, which has been since this room has been gray. So listen, it's not worth it. And I'm okay with that. But the mirror is worth it. The mirror for me is something I walk in every day, and it's hanging above a console table, and it's up in Timbuktu. And so that is important to me. So I've learned how to pick my battles and not try to feel small or silence myself or stay quiet for the sake of someone else. And I know, right, there's a delicate way to say things. And I know with Chris, I probably didn't originally. I was probably like, listen, and you didn't even, I don't know how I said it, well, thanks, but you didn't. And I know that was probably my dynamic. And that was definitely not my dynamic today. And I was really working on how can I articulate this in a better way. Is there somebody else who can come in here and translate? Because something in our communication, which by the way, they don't speak English, as their native language. So it's, they speak nails. And, I can understand where there was probably a loss of communication, but we were trying to get through the color before she even started any of the painting of it. And then she just was like, oh, we'll figure it out later. And she just started doing her own thing. And when she came back, she just started painting. And I was like, wait. And she was like, wait and see. You'll see. And I saw, and it was just these big chunks of glitter. And yeah, it was so, again, it was definitely a test. It was a test of my patience. It was a test of my worthiness. I felt like sitting there, and I was like, I deserve to have my nails painted the color I want. I don't know. And so I know that there are many things that are going on in your life. And I know that there's many areas in which you probably speak up for yourself. But I know that there's many areas in which you don't. Sometimes we ask other people, okay, which sandwich do you want? And you know which one you want. But you're like, oh, no, I'll take whatever. You have whatever one. And they take the one that you, of course, would have taken, and then you feel a little bit sad. And it's not that big of a deal, right? It's a sandwich. You get the same sandwich. It's the same thing. But there's something in there that invalidates you. There's something in there when you do that that says, I'm not worthy of having what I want to. Everybody else is. And I know it's easier, right? Like, because sometimes, like, the peace, like, let the kids pick, or let these things, like, you know what? If they're in peace, I'm in peace. And that's how I lived for so long. But I wasn't. I was lying to myself. I wasn't in peace. I was building up these little wounds inside of me that said I was not worthy of picking the sandwich I wanted. I was not worthy of the nail color I wanted. I was not worthy or deserving of having the mirror hung where I wanted it. The mirror that I bought, the mirror that I wanted hung. And it's been a beautiful journey to learn my voice, to listen to what my gut is, and to understand that even in big and little things, like when the color was happening, I could feel myself starting to get, in a sense, almost like anxious. Like I can feel myself in my stomach feeling like, oh no, this is not right. Like I'm not happy with this. And I can leave and I can pretend I'm happy. I mean, how many times have we received gifts and things? And that's the polite thing to do, is say thank you and I love it. And you know, of course I teach my kids that too, you know, like, you know, you don't have to sit there and be like, I don't want this, you know, I don't need this. Like, why would you buy me this crap? You know, now I have to hold on to it or give it away. Like, what am I supposed to do with this thing? And we're so often just conditioned, and we're teaching others to accept less than they want. And I'm here to say, knock that off. Today is day one of that new transformation where you listen to yourself and you speak up for yourself. And it could be something small, like at the nail tech. It could be something big, like, hey, it makes me feel really uncomfortable when, you know, you smack my butt, or whatever it is. Start practicing what's going on in you. Check in with yourself. Like, what am I feeling? What do I want? What do I need? What isn't happening right now? What is happening right now? And start to process it in real time. Start practicing and speaking up for yourself. Those people in there are not going to remember me. I mean, maybe they'll never forget me, but you know, the other people in there, maybe they'll remember me, maybe they won't. And if they do remember me, I hope they understand that it was not personal. It was just, I wanted what I wanted. I wasn't the one picking 15 different colors, you know, and saying, oh, this one, no, wait, now this one, no, this one. That wasn't how it was happening. And so I wasn't just being a nuisance, but yet I felt like one. I felt like a real burden. I felt like I was ungrateful. I felt like I was a Karen, like I said. You know, I felt like in any minute they were going to like record me. And then at one point they were like, can you just come back later? And I was like, no, I cannot come back later. I have something to do. Well, what time do you have something to do? I'm like an hour ago. Like, I don't want to come back here. I only went here because it was on the way home, and I'm not going to be near here again. And so, you know, I left, and I'm pretty happy. I mean, I'm fairly happy. I can, you know, I'll give it a solid 6 stars, you know, out of 10. And, you know, I'm grateful they're done. I'm also very grateful, though, that my nail that was broken, like way too low, she glued, she fixed and everything. So that shouldn't be a problem, which that's huge, because that was really hurting me. So I say all this to say, if there is something that you're keeping silent about, remember to use your voice. That is your freedom. The sooner you learn how to practice using it, the more liberated you'll feel. And it's not always easy, right? Like, I used my voice. If this happened to me a few years ago, I would have been home in an hour with a color I hated, and I would have just sucked it up, buttercup, because that's what I do. Just smile and say, oh my gosh, they're so beautiful. Thank you so much. And I hate it in the inside. So being honest isn't always easy. It wasn't easy for me. It was uncomfortable, but it did teach me a valid lesson that my voice matters, and, you know, to speak up. And then at some point, like I said, like with the TV, I got to the point with the nails that it's like, these are good enough. I cannot be in here anymore. I gotta go. So I say all this to say, thank you so much for tuning in. Please, please, please go out there today. Give yourself a big old smile. Give yourself a compliment. Today, my compliment is, I'm really proud of myself for speaking up for my desires and wants and needs in regards to the nail salon. And if you can please, please, please go out there today, give somebody else a big smile, give somebody else a compliment. Even though this was like a crazy experience, I was very complimentary to the women. I was, when I went to go send them their tip, I was like, oh, so your son's super cute and all that, like, so, I still found the beauty in it. And I was like, thank you so much for fixing my nail that has been hurting. So make sure you share the good with others as well. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Bye.